We good to go, Dan, on the TVs? Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's okay. Did you see that sweet gavel work right there? Not bad. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the special Common Council meeting scheduled for May 3rd, 2022 at 5:45 p.m. We'll take roll call. All aldermen and women are present and accounted for. Tonight's agenda item is a discussion regarding the South Side development. Tonight, City Administrator Brown and myself have met with the investor that potentially is going to develop property to the south of Port Washington. And our intent of meeting with them and then inviting a representative tonight was to make sure that the City of Port Washington operates in the light, not the dark. There's been a lot of things said about developing and in secrecy and all of this stuff. There is a person who does own property on the south side of town. And tonight we wanted to provide the representative the opportunity to share with us kind of the vision for the property and what they would do. We asked them to come prepared to talk about what their vision was, what needs they would have from the city, and then to ensure that as a council, the council members would be in a proactive position to be able to help inform any future plans. And they were very open to that, and we're pretty excited actually to have them here to be on the very front end of this conversation instead of the receiving end. Mr. Brown also contacted to verify finances. Do you want to speak to that real quick, and then we'll invite our guests?
Yeah, I can speak to that for a second. So I spoke with Keith Vanderschat from Waukesha State Bank, and there was kind of a conversation about the candidate who potentially would buy this land, and then also if they're comfortable with the city having a discussion about potential development on the property as the existing landowners. So in the discussion with Keith, he relayed to me that the potential buyer has a bona fide offer and that they are in the second position, so second option, and that they have done previous transactions with this individual of a similar size and are comfortable with them moving forward because they have done so in the past and they have no reservations about that. So they said that it's I think the word used was a very strong and qualified candidate. Now for the second piece, I said, are you comfortable with the city in discussions with this potential buyer to have discussions about development concepts in the event that they actually acquire the property? And he said, yeah, we have no reservations about that as the existing landowners.
Thank you. Okay, so if you want to step to the podium, and then council, what I'd ask is we had shared with the investor and the representative that they'd have the opportunity to kind of go through everything before we ask questions, just so that he can get to everything and ensure that he has the time to make sure that he represents the investment group and the investor in all of their details. It's off. It's still off, so, nope, still off. Rob, would you mind helping him?
Rob, did they plug it back in underneath there?
Remember, Rob, safety training, we always bend with our knees when we do the lift.
Is the other button the three lights on? Susan, we just have to be careful when they unplug that stuff. They plug it back in like they found it.
The street department puts them back together. I'll talk with them.
I'll move. Why don't you have a seat?
Sure.
Thank you. Now you're on staff.
You want your phone? How's that?
That's better.
That work?
Yep. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and then we can go from there. So thank you for
Mike.
joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. My name is Scott Meyer. I'm here on behalf of the interested investor. And I'm also in public relations. I've been doing it 27 years. I'm sorry I got a head cold, so please bear with me. You guys are in a unique situation. I haven't seen this very often. In fact, on one hand, I can count the number of times an investor came to an area and said, I'd like to invest in your community without any help. So that being said, there's been a lot of mischaracterizations in the newspapers because newspapers sensationalize, and most of it, hell, almost all of it wasn't true. So I thought I'd just come here tonight and let you guys know what the intent of the interested buyer is, because throughout the entire process, I know there's a lot of different supervisors from the counties wanting to spend a lot of your money, but I didn't hear a lot out of Port Washington because you have most skin in the game. This is a very valuable, developable property that's annexed, and that doesn't happen very often. So a little bit about my investor and what his intents are. He grew up in Wisconsin, attended the University of Madison, got a business degree, spent 30 years on the road, practically building his family reputation and wealth. Him and his wife and family are very private individuals, hence the anonymous buyer. Putting yourself in his shoes with everything that's been said and done, would you want anybody to know who you were? Because this day and age, there's two positions, and it seems like if somebody doesn't agree, they get attacked. And obviously, just being anonymous, he was attacked. So that being said, I will not answer any questions on speculation on who the gentleman is, what he does, or anything for his name. Both Tony and Ted are both under non-disclosure, just like I am, because he doesn't own the property. There's nothing nefarious about it. He's just a private individual. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. So what his vision, intent to develop, and funding is. So he's, unlike what you guys went through, and I know this is why there's skepticism, you had a developer looking for investors. And I see this, and I'm sure all of you guys see this time and time again. You'll go past a 4x8 sign, future home of, and 5 years later, you're still going past a sign that says future home of. Developers come in and they look for investors. Investors want a certain guarantee and rate of return on their money, and they have to put the financing piece together. You're in a unique position that he's an investor. He doesn't need a developer. He has the money. And that's the difference of what's happened over the last 10 years when you guys were trying to develop the land to the south. It's unfortunate, can't go back, can't change that, but you have a real person with the wherewithal to develop and do everything. From my understanding, the city of Port has always wanted to develop that property. You have this opportunity. Timing probably wasn't great, but you know, I'm always been a firm believer everything happens for a reason. So he has the right of first refusal. On the 21st of September, on the 22nd, he doesn't have any contingencies. He will write a $5 million cashier's check. It's a cash purchase. That doesn't happen that often either. There's no contingencies on financing, engineering, environmental studies, just paying $5 million. He has the wherewithal to move forward to develop the entire property. He is not looking for any TIFs, any help from the city. He doesn't need to have that. He wants to be a partner with the city. And here's something that I haven't seen in all these years. So, and he explained this to me. He wants to do this the right way. The right way to develop is to work with the city. So his expectations to you would be you guys get to pick the developer that you're comfortable to be working with. All he wants is 3 names of engineer, developing firms that you guys are comfortable working with, because he doesn't want any friction. And that being said, nobody wants friction because it always delays development. Obviously, he wants a rate on investment, but he doesn't need a rate on investment that you would normally get because he doesn't have the layers of developers or anything else involved. So his rate on return on investment is flexible. Now we'll get into, after the acquisition, the investor will begin meeting with the city of Port, the DNR, to seek input and guidance on how you guys and he want the property developed. He's not married to one particular plan. Obviously, he's looking at the old plan of the housing, and that's going to be a piece of it. And he's also looking, and this is really critical, he wants all work to be done whenever possible by local contractors. And there's reasons for that. Local contractors have a reputation uphold and pride in their work, and it keeps the money local, and you can keep on timelines. So, frankly, this is a very low risk, high reward for the city of Port. He has the money, and I think Mr. Brown acknowledges that. He has the money not only to purchase the property, he has the money to invest in the property. This isn't a sham. This isn't a scam. He has the money. He loves this area. He'd like to develop it. Obviously, there is a return on investment, and I've seen so many articles and stories and what ifs and who for. This is what I can tell you today. And if you have any questions, I really don't have a lot more to tell you except he wants a full partnership. His vision would be a committee of whoever on this council, city planners, engineers, and whoever he hires as an engineer to develop it in a mutual fashion on what your vision would be and what his vision would be. As long as we meet the three main goals, protecting the environment, which I think all of you know or should know. Those are boogeyman scary arguments that, we have these environmental corridors. How do we know? You can't do it. I've worked with the DNR. I've helped get permits for companies. Anybody that's ever did any construction on the lakeshore knows you can't willy-nilly develop. The DNR will determine the sensitive areas. Trust me, immediately. So that's not any type of damage or poor development just will not occur. Again, that's just a red herring argument. That being said, I'll take any questions that I can answer, and unless you guys have anything else, I will go from there.
Council, any questions?
I do.
Mr. Newmeyer?
2 questions in deference to your discussion or what we've messaged from you earlier, Mr. Mayor. I am going to ask about the land trust issue. I have that issue, and I'd like to know how you're communicating with the land trust about the area.
I'm not communicating with the land trust.
Okay, you folks aren't talking with them then?
No, I haven't talked to him at all.
Okay. And my second question is, are you prepared to pay for all the infrastructure hooking to our sewer, water?
Yes.
You're not wanting TIF, but you're prepared.
You don't want a TIF? Nope.
You're prepared to bear those costs.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sigwart?
Do you have an estimate of that utility cost, sir?
No, we do not. Not at this point. Because,
$4 million.
yeah. I think we saw some estimate on that at one time or another.
Mr. Plaitner?
You mentioned a little bit about return on investment from your client, Mr. Meyer. Can you be a little bit more specific about that? How much, what are we looking at? How much valuation are we looking to create here in his estimation to recoup that investment?
I think he's very flexible on that. I can't give you a specific number tonight. Remember, he does not own the property. And again, the development between the city and the department and himself, that's where all this gets worked out. We don't know what the ground looks like. My father was a civil engineer. We have conceptual artist drawings of a lot of things, and then because I'm in a building that has an engineering firm, I'll stop down and you'll have a wonderful architectural drawing, and then you got the real engineers in the room going, hey, no, that's not going to happen. Because that's, that will all those details would be worked out with the pen to paper.
Other questions? Alderwoman Postle?
This is almost too good to be true, but I need to ask, at what point would you like a wish list given to you for what type of development goes in there? What we would like to see?
What would you, a timeline on that?
Yeah, I mean,
After the property is purchased?
after it's purchased.
Sure, look, I can't speculate. I know there's been a lot of speculation on, will you have a bike path? I can't tell you that until you get an engineering firm, and if there's any engineers on the council, they can recognize all this stuff is just too premature to give you these answers. If ultimately he can purchase the property, the projected timeline is 23, 24 to dig, depending on when he can get the property. And if we don't have any friction, that's why he wants to hire people on your recommendation, because that just solves a whole lot of problems with people and contractors you guys have worked for in the past. It makes the transition go through. The economics will develop throughout the discussions. You'll come with a wish list. He's pretty open to just about anything. I know it seems to be too good to be true, but sometimes it isn't.
Fair enough, thank you.
Mr. Gasper?
Yeah, just to clarify, is your client acquiring just the Clay Bluffs land area, or also the area that was going to be the Cedar Vineyard?
He's purchasing the 131 acres that are up for sale right now.
Okay. I'm not, I don't know off the top of my head what the acreage of both of those were, so that's why. Yeah, okay, so north of the gorge and south of the gorge, I get?
It's 131 acres that's for sale right now. It would be north of the Lion's Den, I believe it is.
Mr. Tierney? Anybody?
I don't know, it seems like your client has a lot of concern about friction. And I can promise you that there's going to be friction, just based on the number of people that want to see the lack of a better word, the nature preserve go through. And I don't see that there's going to be any way around the fact that there's going to be that kind of friction. And if that's, I'm just wondering if he's prepared for that. Because frankly, I'll be honest, I'm in favor of the nature preserve right now myself. It's I get the arguments against it, but I think it's an opportunity to save something right now. And by the logic that it makes more sense to develop it, then you wind up with Yellowstone being a gated community or something, or Rocky Mountain National Park being a big ski resort. So I think whatever happens, there is going to be friction.
Well, I don't disagree that there won't be friction, but the friction he's talking about is development friction, not friction within or without. I think we all need to recognize land is very emotional, whether on what side of the argument. I'm a property owner. I am a landowner. I'm very emotionally attached to it. I get that. But I also get the role of government and the wise use of taxpayers' dollars and revenues. We're going to be coming into some very, very hard times, and I think all of you guys can recognize that looking for revenue streams should be a priority for all cities and counties. I get the land purchase. I understand all that, but we haven't seen anything yet. It's going to be very, very difficult times that we're coming upon.
Other questions? Mr. Sigwart?
You said that your your interested buyer wants to see some return on his investment.
Yes, sir.
Then he has to have a plan before he buys the land, or he can't assure himself he's going to have any return on his investment.
Well, I think he looked at other plans, and that will be resolved. Look, it's 131 acres. There's a good opportunity to make an investment on that money.
In other words, my head anyway, the purchase price of the land, he's willing to pay $5 million
Yes, sir.
plus $4 million to have sewer and water brought to the site.
Yes, sir.
That's $9 million to develop 131 acres.
Yes, sir.
I did it for a living. Yeah, you're in trouble already.
Well, he's did it for a living too. He's very, very sharp when it
He
comes.
said he was, I thought I heard he was not a developer.
No, but he's a businessman that's pretty sharp with a pencil.
Right, thanks.
Any other questions? Mr. Newmeyer?
I appreciate your openness today to your benefactor. I didn't appreciate the end of his letter. I thought it was somewhat pejorative to government, as government is run, to the fact that government doesn't work so efficiently. If you could communicate that, that didn't sit well with me at all. I think this body, local government, is the most effective as far as performing their job, protecting the taxpayers' money. But the end of the letter, I didn't agree with. I agreed with about local contractors. I applaud that, but the end of the letter, I had a problem with that.
I'm not sure what letter, the letter that he sent to.
Right, the unsigned letter that he sent.
You'd have to, I'm sorry if
I don't have the letter right in front of me.
I don't either. I'm trying to.
I think Mr. Meyer is just asking you to deliver the message back.
Right, just-
that-
Oh, I will
Just
absolutely.
that I found that demeaning toward us as a local government. I think we operate pretty efficiently.
And I think, first off, one of the main reasons that this area is very attractive is because of how efficient the county is operated and the city is operated.
Okay.
And that is one of the, and you guys have did a great job in the area. I mean, it's very attractive to bring both investment and other people to the area. $1.86 mill tax. Hell, I'd like to live over here at $1.80. I really would. I'm not going to lie to you about that. That's a big attraction. $1.86 mill taxes. I think you're in the top 3 in the state. And the cities did a great job. I mean, I got to be honest with you. This is a beautiful city. Every time I come down the hill from the church, I fish over here quite a bit. In fact, I did the work on reintroduction of the fish to the area, the salmon stocking, everything, just because we know more fish in the lake means more tourism in important, and that was what my job was, is to bring more fish. And no, I will absolutely tell them that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions from council? Again, the intent tonight was to give us the opportunity to have the conversation here proactively. So, I mean, I would ask council if you have any other clarifying questions. We are in open session on purpose, and I would appreciate if we could do that. Jonathan? Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm sorry, Mr. Pleitner.
yeah, I'm an adult now, yeah.
That's right. Say hi to your dad for me.
Thanks. I do commend you for being here. I mean, I want this to be as open as possible, right? Like the fact that it's been allowed to percolate so long in
Sure.
the darkness and the shadows, as it were, right? It's maybe a bit of colorful phrasing, but I want to make sure that like our needs are met. And you talk about this being perhaps premature. It's only May, and September is when our deadline
Right.
is. So I guess for me, what do the next summer months look like between your client, the city, potentially the land trust? Like, what do you envision the next 3 months, 4 months looking like?
Well, I think first we had to see if the land trust can get the financing. You know, I can't control that. If it happens, it happens. I'd like to have further discussions because this is a very valuable, developable, annexed land that the city owns. And how that gets developed or non-developed really is up to you. I can't control. I'd like to have further discussions to that end, but a lot of that's out of my control. We're willing to sit down with the city council anytime and have further talks. I come in and have these talks. But again, it's at this point, it's kind of between the city council and the land trust. We're just an interested investor and buyer.
Other questions? Mr. Sigwart, or Mr. Benning, I'm sorry, you haven't said. Go ahead. Dan,
I guess I'd be curious to know if this investor is looking at this as a one-time thing, or is there interest in doing further development, whether they get this land or not? I mean, there's the old VK land south of town. If there's interest in doing more in Port Washington and other areas of town, again, whether this land is acquired or not acquired type of thing.
I couldn't give you that answer tonight. I just can't. That'd be speculation on my part.
Okay.
other questions? Mr. Sigwart, look at that.
Any chance that the buyer here would want to live there? Is he or she indicated that to you?
No, they haven't indicated that to me. He's comfortable in his own shoes. I mean, he has a family and grandkids. Some of this might be part of a legacy as well. I'm just speculating on that. Oh, if your thought is he's going to be putting a big mansion up for himself, no, that's not it. I've got a lot of different questions over the last few months, and I can tell you this: it isn't Elon Musk. But beyond that, that's about the only thing I can tell you.
Other questions? Then if I can just surmise for us then, based upon what you said, what I heard this evening was that, in September, or really probably more likely November, you and the investor will be coming back to the city of Port Washington, depending on what happens. And your objective and goal here is to include the city in review and input on developmental partners, engineering partners, looking for input on potential local contractors. And one of the pieces is, we're going to want to be able to, as you indicated, have a lot of input on things like the developmental density and the opportunities for, kind of the blended pieces out there that you shared with us.
Correct.
That's correct.
Very correct.
And then just the Cedar property to the north is currently owned by this investor, right? Not just the.
I don't have that information
Acquired.
in front of me.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
it's okay. All right. But any other questions after that kind of summation?
Could you clarify that? He owns you're saying you think
I'm
he owns?
asking.
Oh, you're asking. Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. My understanding, I thought the investor owned that property, but I could be wrong, and was looking to acquire the OW, the current property that is for sale. OWLT has first right of refusal, and he has first right of refusal after the closing date, is my understanding.
Correct.
Second, yeah, right. Should we get in on the third? Okay, then with that, I think basically I'm grateful that you were able to come tonight, and please extend that to the investor. City of Port Washington is certainly not going to, participate in kind of quiet in the dark kind of things, and we just appreciate that we could operate in the light tonight with you. And frankly, as a council, I think, and as a city, we're in a really nice position here where we're either going to get a land trust property to the south, preserving more and development next to it regardless, or expanded development in the future. So we're very grateful for your time this evening, and please extend that, and look forward to, regardless of what happens, looking at those different opportunities that face the city.
Yes, I appreciate you inviting me here again. We are trying to be as transparent without divulging the investor's name at this point until he could acquire the property. If you have any other questions, I would be more than happy to talk to. And I think one of the main things that we wanted you to meet the investor and Tony was to make sure he didn't have horns growing out of his head, and I didn't think he did. But I don't think you guys saw that. He's a very nice individual that wants to do the right thing. And again, the city of Port's a very attractive area, and you have all the right things going for you, and I'd love to see more development. And again, thank you for your time. I appreciate you inviting us here, and if you have any further questions or needs, I can try to answer them.
Excellent. Okay, with that, I'd be seeking a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we stand adjourned. Smoke 'em.